Looks like Minnesota, South Dakota State, Tulane, and Illinois Chicago are the four teams that were originally scheduled to run that will not be in. So it's Utah, Iowa State, Bradley, Oregon State, Gonzaga, DePaul, St. Thomas, South Dakota, Iowa, Northern Iowa, St. Louis, and Ohio State.
I want these anchor runners to stay here on this corner. Once the women start, you can do them.
So this distance medley relay underway.
Everybody else.
1,200 meters on the opening leg in this DMR. And Gonzaga in the early leadership position here in the University Division. On the women's side, Notre Dame broke the record last year, new record in 10:54.60. And Gonzaga, with Willow Collins scheduled to run the opening leg. And Utah with Brianna Wren, Northern Iowa's Kaylin Locker, and Maya Beckler of Oregon State. And noting Oregon State now in third, and we get to the racing here with Iowa State now into fourth. Second lap of 3 on the opening leg of this University Division of the DMR. $1,200 followed by a 400. Then an 800-meter leg, and they wrap it up with a 1,600-meter leg. That was South Dakota and St. Thomas in the back of the pack here. Now back to the front with Gonzaga and Utah. And Oregon State, Iowa State, Bradley among the leaders. And then back to St. Louis, Ohio State, Northern Iowa, and Iowa. As we go through 800 meters in 2:16.58, so final lap of this opening leg with those top 5 teams within about a half second of each other, a second back to the chase group. But Gonzaga been leading this one from the gun. And now getting challenged a little bit as Oregon State moves to the outside. Going to challenge maybe for the lead here. Not only is it important to get to the line as fast as you can, but try to get some separation as there's a little bit of movement there. And Utah trying to get out from outside the rail. And because what they want is they want space to find their teammate as those teams are lined up waiting to bring them home. But they were lined up in an order that sometimes was set with 200 meters to go. So 5 teams coming into the exchange zone. And Iowa State is going to get there first. Iowa State, Oregon State. Gonzaga gets their baton, as does Utah. And we go to the 400-meter leg here with Iowa State and Karen David. As we'll try to get as big a lead as possible. Oregon State has Addison Swartzendruber, Emily Martin for Utah, Ellie Armbruster for Gonzaga, and Bradley with a nice leg by Abigail Hancock, getting them very much back into contention. So a battle for second, third, and fourth behind Iowa State in the lead. And already now to the second exchange as we'll go from sprint speed to middle distance speed. Transition from the 400 to the 800 here. 55-55 on that leg by Iowa State. Oregon State in second, Utah, Bradley, and Gonzaga. Iowa State and Utah. Bradley on the outside. Becca Heitzig of Iowa State scheduled to be the third runner here. Annie Murdoch of Utah, Jillian Brown of Oregon State, and Bradley with Trixie Wraith. 5 minutes elapsed on the clock. As the men will follow as we close in on 1 o'clock local time here in Des Moines. About an hour's worth of coverage to carry us up to the CBS television window. When we'll switch over, Rudder Space will have the events on the other side of that TV window, which will last approximately 2 hours. Here, though, watching the championship racing unfold in front of us with Iowa State, Bradley, Oregon State, and Gonzaga. And now the move by Bradley and Wraith. Oregon State with Jillian Brown, and Iowa State with Heitzig. Annie Murdoch of Utah. Utah's got a great final 1,600-meter leg with Aaron Vringer. And Gonzaga has a good closer in Machu Shuri. But they are now in 5th overall. Oregon State with the lead. They won a relays crown last night and try to do it again here on a sunny Saturday to close it out. Oregon State, Bradley, and Iowa State, though, are going to be equidistant with each other. Simultaneous grasp of the baton. And Utah's Vringer says, hey, I'd like to join, as they'll settle in, and that's Gonzaga, as taking advantage of kind of a slowdown here. Machu Shiri is now in the back of that lead train, led by Oregon State's Ainsley Heron. So Oregon State, Bradley, Iowa State, and Utah and Gonzaga. $1,600-meter leg on this anchor. No change in the order, maybe a little bit of a gap between Utah and Gonzaga, but still a lot of track to cover here. 3 laps to go for the leaders. Oregon State will lead as they come through in 68.74 on the opening lap. And again, keep an eye on these conditions, as the beneficiary on the backstretch is absolutely the teams behind Oregon State, because that wind is coming directly into their faces from the north. So Oregon State having to do the hard work here, and maybe even so on the turn to home, not getting as much benefit of the wind because they've got those teams behind them. Machu Shuri losing a little bit of contact in the back for Gonzaga. Oregon State, Bradley, Iowa State, Utah, and Gonzaga. Two laps to go here in Des Moines for a distance medley championship in the University Division. And Machu Shuri still comfortable, sitting about 5 meters behind Utah, with Oregon State trying to win this up front. And now 600 meters of racing to go. Oregon State, Bradley, Iowa State, Utah, and Gonzaga. And now Machushuri beginning to make that move, and now going to start to make a move from the back. All right, the race has officially started. Here comes Utah on the outside with Vringer. Iowa State responds. Oregon State having some trouble here staying in contact, so it's going to come down maybe to 3 here. Bradley, Utah, and Iowa State as they reach the bell in just a shade over 10 minutes. Iowa State, Utah, and Bradley. Oregon State is 4th. And a move by Utah, heading down the backstretch for the final time. Utah, Iowa State, Bradley, Oregon State, and Gonzaga. And with 200 meters to go, Bradley not able to respond, so now it's Iowa State trying to chase down the Utah Utes and Aaron Vringer. And Vringer starting to turn over. And off the final turn, 100 meters to run for a university title here on the Blue Oval in Des Moines. And Utah will go Rinn to Martin to Murdoch to Vringer. And that is your 2025 Drake Relays Distance Medley Relay Champions. 11:07:60 is the winning time. Iowa State second. 2 seconds back in 11:09:58. Bradley third. And Oregon State finishing in 4th.